Like, so like 3-year-old people playing kids be playing video games? Is there age limit, you think?
The answer I give you probably doesn't help my career. But I believe there is a limit, and it doesn't matter if the game is designed to be for 3 to 5 year olds or something like that. It doesn't matter if it's Coco Melon. It doesn't matter if it's, very childlike. What you're exposing your children to is repetition and really fast gratification.
Yeah.
And we're effectively playing with the endorphins in your kid's brain because they're getting gratification from doing these things over and over and over again. And we're humans, and at these very young ages, we just shouldn't be exposed to that kind of rapid gratification. So some games are very slow. I don't think you can really call them games. There's some apps where it's like, okay, pop the really slow balloons that are moving. These are fine, but that's not how games are designed anymore. Now it's about revenue. It's not about people.
Yeah.
It's not a humanistic environment anymore. It's very much about money.
So I know Twitch has been like a gaming platform for a while.
Mhm.
I know a new thing called Kick came out.
Yeah,
You know,
I've heard of Kick.
Kick, have you been on it yet? Or
I've looked at it a few
yeah,
times. Yeah.
what's your opinion of it so far? Do you
Um,
think it has a chance to take Twitch, or like Twitch is so well established?
Honestly, I don't think these two platforms are really about games
You
anymore.
know?
If you look at the behavior of Kick streamers and IRL streamers, which are taking over these platforms, um, I don't think it's really about games anymore.
I know
And
Twitch has a lot of podcast chatting, like different things
a
like that on
lot of
there.
chatting, a lot of chatting. And then also Twitch is borderline, it's softcore porn. A lot of it is softcore porn.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of, females in bathtubs or hot
yeah,
tubs, with bottles of champagnes. Yeah.
yeah, doing weird stuff, and then there are kids that are watching this, right? So my opinions of both of them is that I think the people who run these websites should take, their content seriously.
Mhm.
We don't live in an age anymore where we can say, oh, we're only a platform and
Yeah.
people are creating content. We have a responsibility to make sure that not only children are safe, but we're um at least making an effort to become a bit more wholesome as a society.
Is there like a gaming only platform out there now?
A what?
Is there like a gaming only platform out there now, like Twitch used to be?
There used to be, but they don't work. As long as these platforms that allow for, basically pornography and OnlyFans models to be half nude on camera, as long as those exist,
Yeah,
people won't use the alternatives,
yeah,
right? A long time ago, I heard the term for the first time, sex sells, and that's what's happening. It's
yeah,
it's selling.
yeah.
So as long as there's money to be made, with these more lewd versions of these platforms that should be about gaming, then no, I don't think we'll have a gaming only platform.
So you became interested in gaming like a very early age, right?
My first Nintendo, yeah,
Percento. How
yeah.
old were you?
I was very young. I think I got it for my birthday from my dad. It was the one of the I think it was the first gift that I remembered, or I was old enough to remember. So I think I was probably around 7 or 8 years
Mhm.
old, something like that.
So what do you think made you like stay interested in all those? Because a lot of people get games at a younger age, they play the games and like go on to different things. Why do you think you stay so focused on becoming a developer or get a career in games?
So the same reason anybody does anything, I saw it, I was like, wow, this is cool. This is really cool. Um, when I was a kid, I was I don't know what the word for it is. I don't think it's genius. I think it's something between, a bit advanced
Mhm.
and um, yeah, I was very smart. I like to take things apart and put them back together as something else. I like to do that. Um, And when I first played games, I thought the same, the same thing. Instinctually, I was like, I wonder what it takes to how do they make this, Um, the light gun, for example,
Yeah.
shooting the ducks. This to me was like magic, and I was very interested in, you know, being able to take that apart and make something else. So I think that was my core motivation, my core memory motivation. Yeah.
So talk about the process of you actually getting your first job
Sure.
doing this.
Yeah. My first job making games, I was living in Texas at the time, and I was going to the Art Institute of Houston studying game design and development. And um, I left early, just like high school. And the reason why was because I felt like it was incredibly slow. And the way they gated the course materials that you need to learn actual game development was crazy. You know, every semester I was only taking one game development related course, which is doesn't make sense for somebody who wants to study, you know, game development, right? So I left after some time and I went back to Germany and I shot my shot. I applied for a job and it was a positive response. I entered the
Do you
industry.
have like any kind of portfolio or anything like that at the
I
time?
had no, of course not. I didn't have any portfolio. I had this crappy little CV with nothing on it. You know, I had my car sales experience and army experience. That's all I had ever done, you know. So I didn't have a lot to put on there. And because of the university and studying game development, they actually called me on
Mhm.
my CV. So they emailed me and they called me for an interview for QA, and I got it. Yeah, I got it after 2 weeks of being back in Germany. And so the manager that I had, he knew that I applied for a game design job. He knew I wanted to move to game design, and he promised me. He made me a promise, and he was really, really a great guy. I'll never forget him, Marcus Raffenboyle. And he said, I know you want to be a game designer, but I need a QA. You give me a year, I'll help you get a game design slot in the company. And that's exactly what he did. And a year after my QA experience, I was doing game design.
So what does a game designer do? Is it like UX UI design for games?
So we have this saying in the game design space, like it's always hard to explain game design. Game design is the art of creating systems. So, for example, the bike riding example that you gave, how do you functionally how do you tell someone how that's supposed to work in the video game space? You have to explain to them exactly how the system behaves. Okay, when a user pedals, this is one cycle and the bike moves X amount distance forward, and they're going to be pressing this button to execute that task. And then only when that task is done, they can move on to the next one, which is to press another button that gets the other pedal forward. And then you have to map that out via documentation or prototyping. And then you need to create reference materials that engineers can action on and read. And that's what a game designer does.
That sounds like crazy complicated.
It is. It is, which is ironic, isn't it? Because when I told my teachers that I wanted to do game design, they thought I was batshit crazy. And now look where we are, you know. It's a very complex field to be in. And it only gets more challenging as technology develops, you know. So
So
yeah.
what's like a typical team? So you're gonna start making this bicycle game. Is a typical team like a QA person, a game designer, 4 or 5 developers, a product manager, a marketing person? How does that work?
So the way my personal company, the way we would concept and prototype, be very small, agile team. You don't want a lot of people, right? Um, I would say, you know, a game designer to help with lead work on game design and system design structure, one or two gameplay engineers, and maybe somebody who's comfortable with art, and then that's it.
Yeah, I can see art to be very important.
Yes, it is.
I mean, picking the right colors, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is. So, believe it or not, when Fortnite was released, color started to become very important for games. That's when companies were becoming very serious about the color schemes and swatches they were using for games, because Epic and all of their infinite wisdom decided to hire psychologists to help
Mhm.
identify
Okay.
the most pleasurable color swatches, and that changed the landscape for how we do things. So yes, having an artist is very key.
And games, they get rated now just like movies do, right? Like PG-13 or that kind of stuff.
Dude, there are games that are straight up porno
Mhm.
now. Like I've seen AAA games that are literally heavily
Yeah.
pornographic. Um, so yeah, it's just like movies. We
Okay.
from you know, games meant for kids, from E rating all the way up to like 18 plus,
So
18
what's
plus.
a game that you like really excited, man? I can't wait for this game to come out. It's been the best game ever. And you play, you're like, what is this crap? Like this is, are you just totally
Oh,
disappointed?
just maximum disappointment.
Yeah.
Oh man. I think most of the gaming community, if anybody who watches this is a gamer, they'll agree. I think Cyberpunk,
Okay.
when that first came out, it was such a deep level of disappointment because we waited for so long, and those initial trailers were amazing. They looked so cool.
Yeah.
You had people
So the
fanboying out
trailers
before
were
the
way better than the actual thing.
initially, yeah, but now Cyberpunk is like, wow, it's amazing now, and especially since the community's gotten a hold of, like, modding and all of these upgrades. You can jump on Nexus mod and get all kinds of cool mods that make the game a new game effectively,
So why do
and
you
it's
think
super cool.
games like Madden, NFL football, Mario Brothers, after all these decades, are still so popular?
um s- that's a good question. Mario Brothers, I can tell you, because back then games were very experimental,